Should I say all boys?
Ain't not shit. That's my motherfucking son.
World Star.
Oh, no.
That's my motherfucking son. You don't got no business. Barbershop. I told you that. I told you that shit. 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 It's your first time.
Hey, let me go ahead and call this mama real quick and we go ahead and get to the bottom of it.
All right, you go ahead and do that. And she better say the right shit because she gone. I'm about to get the swinging in this. On God. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yo. Ass not answering the phone, huh? Ass probably well, I thought ass.
Hey, bro.
Man,
like I told you.
get him out your car.
That's my motherfucking son. That's my motherfucking son. This shit want to be Russell Wilson so motherfucking bad. This shit want to be Russell Wilson so bad. What you doing? We got the Sierra.
Hey, bro, you going to them. Hey, bro.
I need all this up.
Hey, she sent her ass in the phone, huh?
Hey, bro, all right. I'm really showing you.
Yeah, all right.
Like I said, watch out for the son.
Ain't your motherfucking son.
Hold on. Hey, Keisha.
It will be Keisha.
Hey, she up in here trying to take Sean with him.
Let me get a little closer.
You ain't clean there nowhere until you pay your child support.
What? Child support? That little bitty ass shit. I can pay that shit right now on God.
Do it then.
Shit out your ass.
Hey, take that aside, man.
Hey, Keisha gonna really let this disrespect me in front of my motherfucking son? Talk that ass? Hey, call that. Hey, I'm getting my motherfucking son. We going. Hey, Mike, I appreciate you, but I need my son. Hey, let's wrap this shit up. I need my motherfucking son, man. Give me my motherfucking son. Hey, don't get my son no more. I'm gonna shit out your ass.
So, you see, man, again, to you, Akim, man, you know, and this is why, like, even going into the whole Isaiah or Slaki, let me say, because the video cut off, again, since this is a separate video, you know, fair use, all right? I'm not making any type of monetary gain. This is strictly for education and informational purposes only, all right? But again, you know, going into even with the whole Isaiah 4:1 topic, you know, and trying to explain to brothers that it's not going to be some rap video, man, you know, because again, it's bad enough dealing with a woman. And she already has her own baggage, dealing with her own demons. All right. You know, these women, they, you know, looking for, you know, a father figure, counselor, therapist, and everything in the book, you know, so it's bad enough that alone. But not only that, because that's baggage within itself, but the fact that these women come with extra baggage, all right, you know, and again, it might sound cruel, harsh, or whatever the case may be, but nevertheless, truth is truth, all right, and that's why you women have to be extra humble when it comes to a man of Yahweh Shema Shai, especially if you have, you know, children by another man, all right, because for instances like this, all right, trying to play the whole Captain Saber hoe, you know, that shit is just not where it's at. All right. And I'm sure brothers such as myself that have been there, done that. That's not, it ain't where it's at. All right. You know, and brothers put, Salaki, the Lord puts brothers through certain experiences for a reason, you know. And it's just not where it's at. If you're going to deal with a woman, my advice, if you're going to deal with a woman with children, because again, 9 times out of 10, she's going to have seed by another man. You know, my advice is just, hey, tell her straight up that you ain't dealing with them little nuggets, you know, and then she can take it or leave it. You know, I would just tell her straight up, man. I ain't, you know, if I'm a deal, I'm a deal. You know, but I ain't dealing with another, you know, man seed. I ain't, you know, playing that whole Captain Saber hole. None of that shit. You know, and that's just my advice to brothers, man. You know, because hey, ain't no telling where it can go. You know, ain't gonna tell them where it can go, man. You know, but I'm gonna grab this in Sirach 23, and I got another video. But Sirach 23, because I was mentioning in the first part, just the fact that, these women, they allow the household to be run by the children. All right. And, hey, like the scripture say, a child left to himself, man. It's just, and not only that, these women have a childlike mindset because, again, they need a leader. They need someone to, basically tell them what to do. This is why the wise way to, going back to the scriptures, a woman, she was under possession of her father until she was passed off to a man, and we see why the Lord has it set up the way that he has his program set up, because goddamn, 2025 and we are through and through. But Sirach 23 and 22, thus shall it also go with the wife that leaveth her husband and bringeth in an heir by another. And we see all type of videos, man. Dudes end up finding out that dudes might be paying child support on another man's kids. He find out, 9 years, 11, 15 years, that this child that he's been raising as his own don't belong to him. And that's why you women have a lot, man. The Lord really has it out for a lot of you women, man, because, hey, you, man, I'm going to read on. It says for verse 23, for first she have disobeyed the law of the Most High. And secondly, she hath trespassed against her own husband. And thirdly, she hath played the harlot, Salakia. She hath played the whore in adultery and brought children by another man. So, matter of fact, let's read on. She shall be brought out into the congregation, and inquisition shall be made of her children. And her children shall not take root, and her branches shall bring forth no fruit. She shall leave her memory to be cursed, and her reproach shall not be blotted out. So you see, man, hey, the Lord really has it out for a lot of you women. 2/3 of you, 2/3 consists mostly of women, and you women are not exempt from judgment. You women are not getting away for the atrocities, what you did to the Lord's men, and again, it will behoove you brothers, man, not to be trying to play being that whole Captain Sable whole spirit, trying to take care of another man's seed. All right. Because again, a man have their own spirit as it is, and you trying to raise another man's seed. Hey, he's going to take on the spirit of his father, and, you wonder why a lot of these relationships, they end up going south, and, you get it. I get it. You try to, do the right thing, but this is just not where it's at. All right. Because it's confusion at the end of the day. It's all confusion, and it leads to chaos, but I got another clip I'm going to play.
I understand. Like, I always said little shit on the internet like, I don't see how dads can't be in they son life or this and that. It be the mom, bro. It don't even be the dads for real. Like, the dads want to be there, but if the mom ain't don't want you to be there, you can't be there. Like, I was there the whole process, pulling his head out, everything. Like, I should have just as much say so as possible.
So you see, and this is just one of many clips, all these clips. There's plenty of clips out there just going into such as this, man. Why dudes just end up saying the hell with it? Why dudes just end up stepping out? They just end up saying the hell with it, because again, 9 times out of 10 it's the woman. All right. 9 times out of 10, she drove the man away in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Now, that's not to justify all, man, because you do have those pieces of shit out there, no good for nothing deadbeats, you got those out there, and it's not to justify those dudes, that just don't want to hold themselves accountable, step up to the plate, and take care of their business. You know, it's not to justify them, but for the most part, you know, dealing with these curses, which I'm gonna get here in Deuteronomy 28. Just bear with me. With Deuteronomy 28. Because again, you know, at the end of the day, a man, he likes order. You know, naturally, men, we desire order. All right. And these household, these women, the children running the household, you know, dealing with other niggas, kids, you know, all the, you know, this pot of confusion. It's just, you know, it's just disorderly. You know, everything is just out of order. You know, again, you know, because I would question too, you know, but I would have the same attitude before I knew these scriptures. I would have the same attitude, like, damn, why would a, you know, and me being in a position myself where I really have to take some time out and just be like, man, is it worth stepping out? Is it worth, you know, because I'm sure, you know, most of us, we're to that point where, you know, we were really just considering just, hey, man, you know, fuck it, you know, the hell with this, you know, because you see, you know, you see why a lot of dudes end up just stepping away. Just a lot of dudes just end up saying the hell with it, you know. You try to be the family man, you try to do the right thing to the best of your ability in this world, you know. You know, and majority of the time, it's just not worth the headache. It's just not worth it. So this is why a lot of dudes just end up saying the hell with it, you know. But Deuteronomy 28, of Deuteronomy 28 and 54, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother. And don't we see that, you know? I mean, at one point, you know, it's a part of our customs to you know, real tender and delicate towards one another, you know, to show that real brotherly love. But you look at Jake now, you look at Jake Rome, and they be ready to, you know, blow you away, man. You know, it says, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. So you see, you know, this whole deadbeat baby father culture. All right. You know, like, and again, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's the woman in some way, shape, form, or fashion. You know, the woman, she, you know, drove the man away in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And again, this is not to justify the real no good deadbeats. They just, you know, real pieces of shit. You know, it's not to justify those cats, you know. But overall, man, you know, a lot of dudes, because, you know, you have all these videos that are circulating. You know, dudes, you know, young men grow up that resent their father because of their mother, you know, talked all this shit, and, you know, but they end up getting in contact with the father and having a conversation. And, you know, even the you know, these guys, man, they grew up resenting their father. They come to find out, man, it's the mother. You know, they come to find out that, hey, man, pops is cool, man. You know, you know, they grow up years later and they get in contact with their father, and, you know, come to find out, man, it's the mother. You know, because as a child, man, you can't explain to the explain to the child, man. You know, and it's unfortunate, but, you know, oftentimes in those cases, man, you got to wait until the child grows up, man, and hopefully he or she they understand. You know, a lot of times they don't. You know, and they just have that resentment. But nevertheless, you know, 9 times out of 10, man, it's the mother. You know, it's the woman. You know, she plants that seed in the child's head. Your father ain't shit. You know, your father don't love you. You had a video where Eve so-called black women talking to the baby about his father, his father don't love you and this and that and so on and so forth, So, I mean, it's just the curses at the end of the day, these curses, man, you know, that's why we got to get the hell up out of here, man. Cause just that's why righteousness has to be established on the earth, man. We need Yahweh Shai, but again, to you hopefully elect, especially you young men, you considering, playing that whole, because this guy, my man's, I think it's Corey Holcomb. He talked about how, hey man, not wanting to play the whole stepdad, do that whole thing, man. It's like a mental health, it's like a mental illness. Why would you want to even, play Captain Saber to another man's kids, man? Yeah, you have enough seed to get your own. Which, even with that being said, it wouldn't be wise to have children in this captivity. But hey, again, overall it's just an effed up situation overall. And that's why we need the kingdom. This is why we need the kingdom. But Lord willing, this was edifying, giving all praises to Yahweh Shai. Shalom to you, hopefully,